Hello and welcome to vlog number 3, in which I'll talk about diagnosis and surgery. If you're new to my channel and would like to watch the previous vlogs, I'll link to them in the description box below. You can also find them in a playlist. Today is Sunday, the 8th of August, and last Friday I had the last part of my 4th chemo session, so I'm 2/3 along the way. Last week I had some great days. First, a visit of some kind and supportive friends with cake and coffee, and on Thursday my husband and I went for a bike ride across our beautiful region. It's moments like this that make the whole journey tolerable. Back to my journey and the diagnosis. On the 25th of February, I had an appointment with an oncological gynecologist. Due to COVID measures, I had to go to hospital all by myself. As soon as I set eyes on this doctor, I instantly sensed I could trust him completely and relaxed. I was in safe hands. After a quick question and answer round and a pelvic exam, a look of concern crossed his face. He told me the news wasn't good. Even though he didn't actually pronounce the word cancer, it was clear this was what he was thinking of. Even though at that point it still wasn't clear what this mass was exactly. It might be colon cancer, which is what killed my mother over 20 years ago. I didn't scream, I didn't cry, I didn't faint. I remained completely level-headed and rational. I'm not saying this because I think it's the right reaction. It's just how I responded. When hearing such bad news, other people might be sad, angry, confused. It doesn't make them any less strong. I was booked for an MRI scan the next Friday, and the week after that, I would undergo exploratory keyhole surgery. Major surgery to remove the tumour would follow at a later date. I tried not to think of this too much, as it frightened the living daylights out of me. Meanwhile, I also had a blood test. The CEA tumour marker for colon cancer came back negative, but CA125, this is a tumour marker for ovarian cancer, was elevated. By itself, this marker can't be used to diagnose ovarian cancer, nor can it be used in preventive programs. There's simply no way this type of cancer can be screened for, which is why it's so often discovered in the later stages. On my return home, I informed my husband as gently as I could. He would be in for a rough ride as well, and I could only hope he wouldn't keep his feelings bottled up. I knew from experience, as my mother died of colon cancer and my father just 14 months later of cancer of the esophagus, I knew that supporting cancer patients can be emotionally draining. At first, my husband didn't seem to realize how serious this was, perhaps because I was being pretty level about it. When I eventually told him I would need major surgery, probably followed by chemotherapy, it dawned on him that I was very ill indeed. In the following days, even as I informed my close friends, I couldn't get my head round the fact that I had cancer, even though I rationally knew I did. Saying, "I have cancer," even made me feel like an imposter who could be found out at any time for pretending to have a potentially life-threatening disease. At an intellectual level, I could take it all in, but emotionally, I hadn't even begun to process things. The week was filled briefing my replacements and teaching my final classes. On the Thursday evening, I took some photos of my unscarred belly standing in front of the mirror. The next day, holes would be poked into me to insert the instruments for the keyhole procedure. As I left home on Friday morning, the 12th of March, I expected to be back by that evening and just hoped I wouldn't be in too much pain. I had to be in hospital at 7 a.m. More bloods were taken. Then the waiting started. I wasn't nervous, but wished they would come for me soon. Going without food or drink for over 10 hours didn't help. My gynecologist strode in his quicksilvery jack-in-the-box manner and promised to be truthful about anything he found. By 11 a.m. I was finally taken to pre-op, where I had to wait yet another hour. It was incredibly busy, and my bed kept being pushed from one side to the other. At noon, I was wheeled into the operating room and put under. The next thing I knew, I heard a nurse telling me I'd had surgery. I remember thinking that couldn't be right. The tumor would be removed later, wouldn't it? I drifted in and out of consciousness, felt sick, and had to throw up. I was also so extremely cold that I was shivering, and the bed had to be heated up with a fan. Nurses kept checking my vitals. Slowly it dawned on me that I had tubes sticking out of my abdomen. Then the gynecologist came by and told me that during the keyhole surgery, the tumor had begun to bleed, and he'd had to open up my abdomen from the belly button down to remove it. I was too woozy to take it all in, but I do remember thinking, well, that's not too bad a deal. I got 2 for the price of 1. In the days that followed, I found out that I'd had what is called debulking surgery. My cervix, uterus, and ovaries had been removed, as well as the omentum. A row of staples now wound its way round my belly button and down my abdomen. My doctor had had a difficult time dissecting the tumor from the bowel, but fortunately it hadn't grown into it. No visible metastases were found. Obviously, this is major surgery, but with hindsight, I can say it isn't anything near as gruesome as I'd anticipated. The surgery left me with a drain on my right-hand side, a catheter in my bladder, and a drip in my right arm. I could only lie still on my back, but I wasn't in any pain, even though I was only given paracetamol and ibuprofen intravenously. The nurses dropped in frequently and made sure I was as comfortable as I could be under the circumstances. On the morning after the surgery, they asked if I wanted to get up so I could wash at the washstand. As I'd never had surgery before, and I didn't realize I'd lost nearly a liter of blood, I made an effort to drag myself and my drip stand to the bathroom and nearly fainted. But I managed to wash, and the next couple of days I tried to walk a little as often as I could, bent forward and holding on for dear life to the drip stand. Sleep and food were the biggest problems in those first days. I spent the nights reading or playing games on my iPad and greeted the nurses every time they popped their heads round the door. My appetite had been poor for a very long time, and being served the same factory-made vegetarian hamburgers at every meal with a tiny amount of vegetables did nothing to improve it. By the Sunday evening I felt so lonely and exhausted but I sat in the bathroom crying. Yet I didn't understand why I felt so down. Fortunately, my doctor, who came to check on my progress every day, sent me home on Tuesday after just 5 days in hospital, so I could recover. By then, I'd lost another 4 kilos. When my husband came to fetch me, nobody had thought about a wheelchair, and I was too proud to ask for one. So, doubled down, I had to walk through the entire hospital to reach the entrance hall, where I found a single free seat to sit down while my husband got the car. By the time I got home, I was in tears again. I couldn't do anything because I was too weak. I couldn't reach for anything in the cupboards above head height, and I felt lost and miserable. However, I did manage to boil some eggs, which I craved. I ate a hard-boiled egg nearly every day for the next couple of months. I spent the first couple of days lying on the couch, sleeping or just staring at the passing clouds. I was too tired for anything else. Just showering was so exhausting, I'd have to sit down to get dressed. I was extremely short of breath and dizzy, but I insisted on cooking our own meals, even if it meant I had to sit down to cut the vegetables and have a rest every now and then. Every day for 20 days, a nurse came to give me an injection to prevent blood clots. To my surprise, having the staples removed from the wound at the end of that first week at home proved as good as painless. Talking about staples, this sounds more gruesome than it actually is. They're used to keep the wound edges from splitting as you move about. When I looked down, first at the row of glimmering metal that slithered across my belly, and later at the scar left by it, I thought of it as a tattoo, which helped me accept it. What I'd feared the most about the surgery was pain, but to my relief, I wasn't in any real pain. Discomfort, yes. I could only sleep lying on my back for weeks on end. So you can imagine I longed for the moment when I'd be able to finally sleep on my side again. It also took some weeks before my body started feeling normal again. After the surgery, nothing inside my abdomen felt as it had before. Without becoming too graphical, going to the bathroom was an adventure. I felt a bit stronger every day, and after nearly 3 weeks, I managed to go for a 3-kilometer walk. After that, I could build up the distance to about 6 kilometers. I was determined to improve my stamina as much as I could, as I knew I wasn't out of the woods yet. This was only the beginning. After my final round of chemo number 4, I feel extremely tired. I will show you some footage of last night when I was in bed, and you will see what chemo does to a person, what it actually feels like. This will also be the topic of my next vlog, where I will explain in more detail what the rest of my treatment consists of. Bye for now. I apologize for the bad quality of the light, but it's late and I'm recording on my iPad. Just wanted to show you what it's like to have had chemo, and it's now Saturday evening. I had chemo yesterday. At noon today, I started feeling really, really tired. I have a nap this afternoon. I just fell asleep where I was lying. And it's the same right now. I feel so tired. That's what chemo fatigue feels like. It's like a wave that comes over you, and you can just undergo it and accept it. So that's what it's like.